The years of 1880 to 1920 are known as the Gilded Age. Many historians believe it to be a time of severe domestic problems and corruption hidden underneath the wealth that America displayed. Henceforth, the name originated. It is undeniable that many horrors occurred throughout the age, but the gilded exterior surely stood for something. Progress is the word to define this period of time. The physical foundations of America, its sense of legality, the economic state, and the social norms further developed into a better version. America progressed. Here we have our first artifact. The subject of this photograph may not be clear, but the material is what holds the roof above your head. I am speaking of steel, created from the purging of carbon atoms in iron, of lighter, more flexible, and rust-resistant metals boron. During the Gilded Age, America was rapidly industrializing, but was limited by space and material when constructed. With the innovation of steel skeletons, structures could be built larger and taller. Steel cables held the weight of the 1883 Brooklyn Bridge, the largest man-made structure of the era, and the steel frame was used in the first skyscraper, the Home Insurance Building in Chicago of 1885. Steel set the sky's the limit, and America progressed upwards. Our next artifact is a portrait of Thomas A. Edison. He was a pioneer in American science and technology whose innovations remain relevant to this very day. With his establishment of the world's first research laboratory, he left a large impact on those alive during the Gilded Age. His first significant achievement was the perfection of the incandescent light bulb. In 1880, it was not invented by him, but he created an efficient, reliable version that quickly spread to households and workplaces across America. Only a few years later, Edison invented an entire system producing and distributing electrical energy. Electricity, like today, became essential for everyday functions during the Gilded Age. He surely has left his mark in the progression of American technology. Depending upon how you know him, our next artifact might cause anger or pleasure. Andrew Carnegie was an infamous self-made industrialist during the Gilded Age. In 1892, he formed the Carnegie Steel Company. Overlooking the horrible treatment of his employees, Carnegie did wonders for the growing American economy. The steel company grew so prominent that it alone matched the steel output of Great Britain. By the time the company was sold in 1901, Carnegie Steel easily made the majority of America's steel output. All this production brought profit to America during the Gilded Age and supplied it with the raw materials needed to physically grow. Carnegie's legacy continues with his gradual donation of $350 million towards progressing education and social services. Carnegie's actions benefited America as a whole and very nicely represented the Gilded Age. Next, we have a novel. The Jungle by Upton Sinclair was first published on February 26 of 1906. It documented the filthy workplaces of meatpacking industries. Sinclair's writing exposed the industry and resulted in the progression of legislature made to protect consumers. Most obviously, guidelines were placed upon meat processing as a result of the novel. The Meat Inspection Act was passed later that same year and provided strict cleanliness requirements. In addition, the book urged for legislation that restricted every type of consumable. Also, within the same year, the Pure Food and Drug Act was passed, which required all products to have truthful labeling. Great strides in consumer protection were a result of the Jungle. The final artifact is a portrait of Theodore Roosevelt with his best buddy. Roosevelt was a mythical figure throughout the Gilded Age whose actions instilled progress in public warfare. He rose to fame after leading a charge at San Juan Hill during the Spanish-American War. His bold, vigorous personality won the hearts of Americans and propelled him into presidency during 1901 and then continued for another 8 years. He became well known for his work against unfair business practices. In 1902, Roosevelt made headlines when he ordered a company to be sued that held a monopoly over railroads, and In 1903, he helped settle disputes between mistreated mine laborers and their employers. He helped to ensure that companies listened to the demands of their workers and the public, all in order to provide public welfare. Conservation was also in the forefront of Roosevelt's mind. Under his watch, millions of acres of land were set aside for preservation and environmental study. As a result, natural American resources were protected in the public interest of future generations. Roosevelt used his power to progress America's public welfare. And now, I have displayed all the objects within this exhibit and elaborated as to why they are included. I hope you have learned a thing or two about the American Gilded Age. Thank you for attending.